Well, the similarities is it has that single cutting what? Bleh. The similarity, blah, 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 blah. The similarity, well, so far I've said similarities and similarities and certain brr, brr, brr. Let's try this one more time, shall we? Hey everybody, it's just me again, Wayne, with another guitar review, another unexpected guitar review. I mentioned, I think, during the last guitar review, the circumstances had conspired to pass through my hands a couple of guitars, so I thought, oh, what the hell, I might as well review them while I have them. Not a thing that you'll see very often on the channel. Anyway, the last guitar review was of the Monoprice Indio Cali Classic, which was essentially a clone, or is essentially a clone, of the Fender Stratocaster. If you're a guitar player, you already know that the Fender Stratocaster and the Gibson Les Paul are the two most iconic types of electric guitars. Well, this machine right here is a Monoprice Indio 66 Classic, and it is more or less a clone of the Gibson Les Paul. As I said in the previous guitar review video, I expect that if you're watching this, you fall into one of three categories. Either you're looking to get a guitar for someone as a gift, and you don't know much about guitars, so you're trying to find out about them. Or you do know about guitars, and you're trying to find just the right one for them. And whoever you're getting this as a gift for may or may not know how to play. Probably not, would be my guess, for whatever reason, I think. The second category, perhaps you're looking for a backup guitar for yourself. Maybe you only have one main instrument and you want something that's going to be handy and more or less dependable when you're playing in case you need to turn to it on a moment's notice, as happens not infrequently. Or maybe you're looking for a guitar because you want to mod it up. You're thinking, hey, I want to get me an inexpensive guitar and do some improvements or some alterations to it just to see if I can. We'll try to address all those categories. The similarities between this and a Gibson Les Paul type guitar. This is a single cutaway. It has 22 frets. It has a scale length. That's the distance between the nut, which is here, and the bridge, which is here, of 24.75 inches, which makes it just a little bit shorter. It makes your fretboard a little bit shorter than on a Fender Stratocaster or a very similar guitar to that, which has a 25.5 inch scale. Now, it may not seem like 3/4 of an inch would make a whole lot of difference, but it does. That having been said, if you're giving this guitar, if you're getting it for someone else and they don't know how to play, they won't know that there's a difference, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. However, if you're getting this as a gift for someone who does know how to play, you might find a way to subtly ask them, say, what scale length do you like? Gibson or Fender? 24.75 or 25.5 inch? I don't know what that is in millimeters, although I should. Now, how you get around to asking that in a subtle way without just saying, hey, I'm going to get your guitar, I don't really know, but, you know, there you are. Perhaps most importantly, it has two humbucker pickups. Now, humbucker pickups, or humbucking pickups, are supposed to be quieter than single coil pickups, which you find usually on a Fender Strat. Now, quieter doesn't mean they have less volume, it just means they're supposed to not produce as much extra hum and hiss as single coil pickups, and usually that is the case. We'll discuss that regarding this specific guitar here in a minute, though. What differences does this have? On a Les Paul, the toggle switch is usually here, and instead of here. And rather than having just one volume and one tone, a Les Paul usually has four knobs here, a volume and a tone for each of the two pickups. So, I will say, I think this is a great looking guitar. I really do. It's Les Paul-esque, but it's different enough from the Les Paul that I think is pretty striking. I like this kind of, burst silver to black thing it's got going on. And I really like this. I just think this looks great. This slanted string through body construction. Now, a Gibson Les Paul or other Les Paul type guitars generally don't have this. Usually the strings attach right here in a separate piece. String through body construction means that the strings go into these holes on the back of the guitar and they go through it and they're stabilized at the bridge here, and then they make their journey up to the headstock. Anyway, guitar players like to say that string through body construction provides more sustain. Sustain is the amount of time that a chord or a note will continue to resonate after you have struck it. Is that true? Does it provide more sustain? Well, I'm going to go ahead and say yeah. But if you're getting this guitar for someone who doesn't know how to play, they're not going to know the difference. How else is it different from a Gibson Les Paul? Well, the headstock is a little bit different. A Les Paul is usually heavier. This is a fairly light guitar. I mean, it's not a feather, but it's not as heavy as a standard Les Paul type guitar would be. And I think the neck is maybe a little bit shallower than on a Les Paul. I guess I'd have to check, but it's not quite as chunky. Now, how does this guitar play, you say? I think it plays pretty well. The neck is pretty smooth. This neck might have what's called a satin finish. And, well, that means it's pretty smooth. It's not a super duper satin finish, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Now, the fretboard or the fingerboard here is rosewood, or some material that's a lot like rosewood, which means that it's not quite as fast to move your hand around on as if it were a maple fretboard or fingerboard. At least that's my perspective. I really prefer a maple fingerboard. I don't know why. I think it's because the first good guitar that I had, that I played for years and years, had a maple fingerboard. So, we like to stick with what we're used to. But, as I say, if you're getting it for someone who doesn't know how to play, they won't know the difference. And the majority of guitars have rosewood or something like that. And the majority of guitar players are perfectly fine with a rosewood fingerboard. In fact, I'm pretty fine with it myself. Pardon me just a moment. What is it, sweetheart? This is my cat, Giza, and she came in the middle of the video. Are you okay with a rosewood fretboard? If you're okay with it, don't say anything. She's okay with it. Thanks, Giz. It plays pretty well. I didn't do any adjusting of the strings. I didn't do any adjusting of the height of the strings when it got here because the action is pretty low. It plays just pretty nicely straight out of the box. So that's kind of a nice thing. Now, these tuners are unbranded, which means they're not manufactured by Schaller or Grover or Big Bird or Ernie. Giza, stop rubbing your face against the microphone. Stop it. No one wants to hear your damn face. Yes, round yourself. All right. Where were we? Oh, we had the tuners. They're doing okay. The guitar comes with an Allen wrench to adjust the height of the bridge. And like the other Indio guitar that I looked at, comes with a pretty nice gig bag. This thing's fairly padded, fairly sturdy. And of course, it's got those two straps here for all those guitar players who like to go seek fame and fortune with their axe strapped on their back. A much nicer gig bag than you usually get with guitars. Even with expensive guitars, often they don't come with a gig bag at all. So that was a nice surprise. So what did I pay for this, you're asking? Well, if memory serves, I shelled out about $132, maybe $137 for this. And that's significantly cheaper than I've usually seen this guitar listed for, which is one of the reasons that I went, oh, hey, let's try that. Because normally this guitar, when I have seen it over the past couple of years or so, lists for closer to $200. So is it worth it? Is it worth $132 or $137? Or is it worth closer to $200? Well, I guess that depends again upon your perspective. If I were getting this guitar, if I were getting a guitar that played this well and seemed this solid, and it does seem pretty solid, When I started playing, back when we all still lived in huts and had to make fire by rubbing sticks together, you would have had to shell out $300 or $400 or more to get something like this. So, compared to that, it's quite a bargain. And it does play really well. Today is a really nice time to be buying, especially a first guitar, because you can get a really nice instrument for relatively little money. So, is it worth $137? Yeah, I'd say it probably is. Is it worth closer to $200? Well, maybe. Maybe. And here's why I say maybe. Take a listen to this, if you would. You hear that? I don't mean the chord, the little thing I did. I mean that hiss, that hum. That's not a thing that's supposed to be there. Let's compare this. I have the volume turned up here. The amp is not very loud. I have the volume on the guitar turned up. Let's compare this with the sound of the other guitars I have here with their volume turned up. So now we're back to our 66 Classic. That hiss and hum are substantially louder than on any of the previous guitars. Now on a lot of guitars, where you have your toggle switch, your pickup selector switch, makes a big difference in how noisy the pickups are. Let's see if that works. Not really. Moving the toggle switch sort of changed the tone of the hum and the hiss, but it didn't reduce the volume. So now I don't know if that's a thing just on this specific guitar. Maybe there's something a bit wonky with the wiring inside of it. I don't know enough about the guts of guitars to get in there and check. Maybe it's a problem with all of this model of guitar. I don't know. So, I guess you'd be taking your chances if you ordered this guitar. If you have a guitar like this, if you're watching this review because, like I do, you like to watch reviews of stuff you already have just to see whether you agree, let us know in the comments. Does your 66 Classic make that sound? So, yes, is it worth the $137? If it weren't for that sound, that hiss, that hum, I'd say, yeah, absolutely. Would it be worth $200? It might be. If you're looking for a backup guitar and you can find one of these that doesn't make that hiss, then yeah, I'd say sure, this would work pretty well. If you're looking for a guitar to make mods on, I'm not sure I would shell out, $200 for that. On the other hand, if all the 66 Classic guitars make that sound, then maybe this would be a great guitar to buy and mod up because you could put in different pickups or something and fix that. If you're looking to get this guitar for somebody as a first guitar and you're willing to take a chance with that sound, I think it'd be real nice. So that's what I've got, everybody. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.